So, and there are all these kind of like little sub-factions in this space, if you want to look at the kind of specific subcultures or whatever. And I think someone like Andrew Tate can be seen as part of what some people have referred to as the alpha pickup artists set. And so those kinds of communities are all kind of like coalesce around, how to be more successful at picking up chicks, and how to sort of, well, not even sort of form necessarily romantic sort of serious relationships, but basically, yeah, how can you sort of go out and be more successful with women? And then, again, you have these kind of like in between that, you have these kind of geek kind of sci-fi fantasy cultures who kind of rail against kind of progressive shifts in the kind of media that they love, particularly when they see kind of like, female heroes where, you used to have Luke Skywalker, then you have, I can't remember her name, but, sort of like the female version of Luke Skywalker, and they get angry about that. And then there's also a race part to that. There's sort of like, all this kind of like checkbox diversity in my favorite sort of science fiction film. And again, this is predominantly sort of men in these kind of geek cultures doing that. Then on the whole other side of it, you have what your listeners will probably be quite familiar with, or some will be, the incel subculture. And essentially they're this sort of group of young men who have essentially kind of like completely failed, as they see it in life, completely failed in their ability to sort of form intimate relationships, heterosexual relationships, I should say, and have essentially given up and have kind of grown this deep, deep hatred for women and deep, deep hatred for this kind of society that they see as being kind of sort of pitted against them. So in a sense, all of those weird kind of, and there's more, I could go on forever in terms of all these different subcultures that people see as being part of this, but in a sense, one way of thinking about it is a kind of spectrum where on one hand, you have the kind of pickup artist set and their kind of like discourses of kind of success and how to be a real man. And then right at the other end, you have the kind of these abject failures like the incels who have just sort of given up. But what sort of brings them all together, is this sort of shared reactionary kind of anti-feminist position.
Yeah, that's wow.